That's hard. I get teary. She's got just the most beautiful voice. It's probably the one held belt note actually that we've had in this moment. Kia ora and welcome. My name's Zoe Stevie and I'm your vocal coach for today because we're going to be taking a look at some Celine Dion with It's All Coming Back to Me Now. I have seen this song all over the interwebs. It's on TikTok, it's on God knows where, but people are singing this song and we're going to be talking about how you can sing it. We're going to be looking at what is she up to with her voice, what's she doing with the sounds, how is she creating them, and most importantly, how can you create them? So let's take a look at what Celine Dion's up to. Okay, I'm just going to stop it there because I love this moment, especially at the beginning of the song, because not only does it set the scene, but can you hear the way that sort of that minor key giving us that sense of foreboding? Something has happened. It sort of feels like a bit of a thunderstorm, some lightning, which can often happen in relationships as well. And that's what obviously the song is going to be about that something went wrong and it's all coming back to them. So, music and the way that we're using it can help to transport the way that we're using those sounds can transport us back to the meaning behind the song.
There were nights when the wind was so cold.
Especially when we've got that sort of like the strings doing that little tremolo. That is that sense of foreboding before we're getting to the song. And okay, we have to go to Celine, obviously.
There were nights when the wind was so cold. And my body froze in bed if I just listened to it right outside the window. There were days when the sun was so cool, but the tears turned to dust.
I love the way that she uses so much of her dynamics in her song. So we've got the days when the sun was so cruel, and going into that closed vowel, pulling back on the volume. We need to make sure that the volume is not steady and the same throughout the entire phrase that we're singing. We need to go with those vowels as well. So she's also, with other days when there were nights when the wind was so, she's digging into that moment. It's almost like stamping her feet in that moment. And we're hearing all of that in that use of the consonants.
Listen to it right outside the window. There were days when the sun was so cool, but the tears turned to dust, and I just knew my eyes were drying up forever. I finished crying in the instant that you left.
She's in a very similar vocal very similar vocal quality here. We've got that, there were days when the sun, we've got that chest voice quality there. But the beauty of Celine, honestly, you could also call this a mixed voice quality, but I mean, that's very subjective. We've got thicker vocal folds, loads of thyroid tilt, which is where the thyroid that's here, the Adam's apple, tilts forward to elongate those vocal folds. So this is not using huge amounts of weight to go up in the range, but this is a sign of all of that training to balance the breath flow and the vocal fold closure. Let's just watch this as she goes higher.
I finished crying in the instant that you left, and I can't remember where or when or how, and I'm banished.
I mean, we're talking about a woman who's been a professional singer since she was like 12 years old, right? So she is handling that microphone like it is another one of her limbs, right? So you can see where or when or how. So she's using those open vowels to sing across the microphone to make sure that not all of that volume is going straight into the microphone. That is going to be evening out the sound that the audience is getting. But actually, when we're opening up into more of that to when or where or to that open vowel on that where, that's going to actually make the sound louder. So just being aware of these things, that when we basically open up our mouth more, there is going to be more sound to an extent, more sound coming out.
That you left, and I can't remember where or when or how, and I'm banished every memory you and I had ever made.
That's so hard. You see that kind of hollowing out of the tongue there. Let's just go back on it because you're going to watch that. Well, I'm going to make you. That's what I do with my students.
And I can't remember where or when or how, and I'm banished every memory you and I had ever made.
You see that? So we got it. Where or when or how. Now, when I sing that, my tongue does not do that, but Celine Dion's tongue does that. So we don't want to always take what one singer does and go like copy and paste and do it on our own sounds. But what that's showing us there is she's using the tongue in order to shape the vowel. But did you notice the tongue is not just passive within the mouth? Because the tongue is not passive when it comes to singing. We're actually wanting to build up the muscle of the tongue to make sure that we're able to stabilize these muscles in the throat, which is exactly why I have a masterclass for you. Check out the link in the description below for how you can strengthen your tongue in order to help you with your singing. Because honestly, I'm not down for like really quick tips. This is going to help you like lifelong with your singing, because that's what I'm here for. I want you to be singing well into your 70s, no matter how old you currently are.
You and I had ever made.
That's what That's what she does often too. And look, I'm a massive Celine Dion fan. I'm not making fun of her in any way, shape, or form. But that pulling back of the tongue muscle is going to create that made. That's often where people go wrong, though, is that they take the tip of the tongue. You saw it that she took the tip of the tongue back. We actually want to take, and she can do that because she's also, this is a sound that's often found. I don't speak French, but it's often found in French, that so that we're wanting to take the back part of the tongue back and not the front part of the tongue up when we are, it's not constricting, compressing the tongue. Brain moving faster than my mouth. Can you see the made pulling back the tongue?
When you touch me like this and you hold me like that, I just have to admit that it's all coming back to me. If I touch you like this and I hold you like that, it's so hard to believe, but it's all coming back to me. It's all coming back, it's all coming back to me now.
Can you see that? But if you touch me like this, if you hold me like that, that thyroid tilt is what we need. Otherwise, it's going to sound like you're telling someone off. If you touch me like this, or not telling someone, but very sarcastic. If you hold me like that, that thyroid tilt is what's going to help us to make that sound more sung in that moment. Now, we need this feeling of the breath coming into the sound. Otherwise, it's going to not sound sincere. Let's watch that again.
I just have to admit that it's all coming back to me. If I touch you like this and I hold you like that, it's so hard to believe, but it's all coming back to me.
My goodness. hurts me. I could get teary. She's got just the most beautiful voice. So I'm going to touch you like this, introducing that breath. We're actually in a very thin vocal fold in this moment. Thin vocal folds. We've taken all of the volume out of the sound. You can see the microphone is right up against her mouth. And this is what we need to practice with the microphone for, because practicing with the microphone as pop singers is imperative if we are going to be able to first manage it on stage, but also know what sort of sound is actually coming out the other side. This is what I use with my students. You can see here my speaker. I don't use this microphone, but they get just honestly an SM58. Check it out in the description below, like industry standard. I don't know what microphone she's using there, but you just need to get yourself a microphone if you're a pop singer.
But it's all coming back to me. It's all coming back. It's all coming back to me now. There were moments of gold and there were flashes on the light. There were things I'd never do again, but then they'd always seemed right. There were nights of endless pleasure. It was more than all your lies in love.
You can say more than 90 love. You can see that. Wow, that's what we need. We need thyroid tilt. Gotta have it. Otherwise, you're gonna sound like you're just yelling at me. So I love that Celine is the queen of a build-up. Can you see there? She's not giving away too much. This is really, she's flying this flag at like a quarter of the mast, okay? Her voice can do much, much more. My singing teacher always used to say to me, hold back the horses. And I love that sort of expression, because you can see there she's walking down, she's holding back the volume.
There were moments of gold and there were flashes on the light. There were things I'd never do again, but then they'd always seemed right. There were nights of endless pleasure. It was more than all your lies in love.
Now, I'm not sure when her illness started to, cause issues for her, but what we saw there was a little bit of scratch coming. There were nights of endless pleasure. A little bit of the scratch was coming in there, and then she corrected it. That's what we want technique to be for, because on stage, we're not going to be able to stop these things from coming in. A little bit of scratch, a little bit out of tune there. It's a living instrument, but it's the ability to correct it in the moment of the performance and know how to correct it, which is why I am here for you to help you with your vocal technique. And my online singing school, the Vocal Academy, is accepting new students. So we'd love to see you there to help you do exactly this, so that when you are performing on stage, you know what you need to do to change it. You can apply in the description below. Let's watch on this movement of the jaw here.
It always seemed right. There were nights of endless pleasure. It was more than all your lies in love.
So there were nights of endless pleasure. I don't think she needs to actually do that. I think that was more of a like an emotional thing that she was doing in that moment. But what it could be, you could see the chin was being just brought back a little bit. Could be a little bit of using those larger upper back muscles in order to support the smaller muscles of the head and neck. It's actually really hard, but that baby, that B helps us to get a bit of back pressure to help to close the vocal folds. Let's just do that again, because she pulls back.
It was more than all your lies in love.
I just have love. That's hard, but obviously she's like the ultimate professional, dropping the vowel down, allowing the vibrato to come in there. We wouldn't say to do that immediately with the vocal technique, but it is something that we can work towards. We want to watch the drop. Head moving faster than my mouth. Want to watch the tongue if it's moving backwards, because that can sometimes push the larynx down. You hear that? And also the background singer is also doubling her son. Baby. Excellent. I love using a bow, especially when we're working on belting, to help to build up the back pressure. We're really trying to build up the subglottic pressure, which is the pressure below the vocal folds. So that means she's using these larger muscles in the body to hold on to the muscles here in the rib cage. So it's not about pushing for volume. The volume is going to be created by thicker vocal folds and that longer closed phase. You don't actually need to work hard for the volume in that moment.
And if you whisper like that, you must lost long ago, but it's all coming back to me. If you want me like this, if you need me like that, you must lost long ago, but it's all coming back to me. The flesh and the fantasies all coming back to me. I can barely recall, but it's all coming back to me now. But it's all coming back.
She's amazing. So let's just go back on this section where she goes into that long held note. We've got the arm coming up. We know that Celine Dion doesn't do anything that she hasn't pre-planned and that she hasn't really thought well about. We are seeing the shoulders come forward. But again, when we're talking about a singer with as much professional experience and also the length of time that she's been singing, for her, that's not going to be making much of a difference. But for you, I don't want you to do that. Bringing the shoulders forward is going to going to collapse in your lung capacity, but it's also going to mean that your larynx is working a little bit too hard. So think about standing up tall. My favorite exercise for this actually is if you put your arms up tall, drop your shoulders, and then put your arms back down by your side. That's kind of essentially where you want your shoulders to be. You can see they're nicely in line. Again, I'm not telling Celine Dion what to do with her posture.
But it's all coming back to me now.
She's loud in that moment. Back to me now. Open wide gesture, arms out. Now, even just simply putting the arms out can help us to use the weight of our arms to activate those muscles in the back. That's what we need if we're holding onto a thicker vocal fold sound for a longer period of time. Lifting the arms is also going to help us to hold out the ribs. That's the whole point of using those back muscles so that we are not just pushing all of that air out. Remember, we need subglottic pressure to remain stable and we need it to remain high. So doing that really, really helps us to hold on to those thicker vocal folds. She then releases into the vibrato at the end there, which is just a sign that, again, we've got the thyroid tilt. We're kind of letting go a little bit, thinning out the vocal folds slightly to allow that vibrato to come in.
But it's all coming back.
Look, I'm not poo-pooing someone, but I just love that there is a video out there. I mean, she's like note perfect in nearly every single performance. But she was just a tiny bit out of tune on that high note. Look, even singers like Celine Dion, this doesn't mean shit. This is like one note out of like all of them. I get so many singers in the studio saying like, oh no, I sang one note wrong. Like the whole thing is ruined. It's not. It's still a beautiful performance. But I just wanted to point out that even the great singers have those little moments where they sing a bit out of tune. That's hard, but it's all coming back. So the trick is to really hold on to one particular feeling, I always like to say to have one placement of the sound, and then you're going to place those consonants over top. Because if you're trying to move the sound around with those vowels, you're going to basically come undone. So, but it's all coming back. We're keeping a high tongue. We've got lots of tension in there. But this is not just about like finding your chest voice, honestly. We're up on the E5. This is high for the female chest voice register, which is why we need to really work on the tongue. So I do say to you, get that masterclass that I've got for you down in the description below, all about how you can strengthen your tongue, because that's the way that you're going to be able to sing this stuff. The hiccups.
There were those empty threats and hollow lies. But whenever you try to
Something we don't know is a hello lies. She flipped up into the falsetto there. This is about having a flexible voice. So we're doing what the voice wants to do in certain situations and holding on to what we want to do in others. So did you see that? Let's just go back on that. Probably missed it. The L has hello lies, hello. Yeah, it's almost, I'm exaggerating here, but going into that closed vowel actually assists us to go into a falsetto.
And whenever you try to hurt me, I just hurt you even worse and so much deeper. There were hours that just went off for days.
Did it again. So hours that just went on for days. She flipped on the 4. So we can hear this massive change in the volume as she's going through the phrases. Now, this is very specific to Celine. You don't necessarily have to do that. I would ask you as the singer to make sure that it is truthful to you, that you're saying it in a way that's actually connecting with the lyrics. She's connecting in her way. I want you to connect in your way. What would you do with your voice if you were actually having a conversation and saying this to someone?
When alone with us, we count up all the chances that will last to us forever. But you were history with the slamming of the door, and I made myself so strong again somehow, and I never wasted any of my time on you since then.
You see when she's getting to that slightly more sort of like, not aggressive text, but in this pre-chorus here, she bringing the mouth more forward. That's going to help to darken the sound, and she's thickening up those vocal folds without necessarily thinking about pushing for the volume. I finished crying when the slamming of the door is probably the wrong lyrics, but using that extra pressure on the vocal fold is going to give us the impression that we're working harder or we've got more effort in the sound.
When you touch me like this, and you hold me like that, I just have to admit that it's all coming back to me. If I touch you like this, and I hold you like that, it was gone with the wind, but it's all coming back to me.
If you're singing this song, you've got to like really fucking mean every lyric, okay? If you touch me like this, if it's got to be a conversation between two people. Like the person you're genuinely talking to is like exactly in front of you and they're actually touching you. That's kind of how you have to sing. If you hold me like that, that sighing moment would be that like, oh, I really like that feeling. I know that kind of seems, and I always get my singer, the singers in front of me like, oh, it's a bit embarrassing. Practice these things in the comfort of your own home. Obviously, she's singing this to thousands of people, but I want you to get comfortable with almost overdoing it and showing that private side of you, because in that softness with that breath, the vocal folds are open to allow it to come through. That's where we're going to be believing you. See that? There were nights of endless pleasure. Where are we? Okay, we're up on the C5. More than any lousy love. The tricky part about this song, and I have to say this is something that I've kind of been working on, this particular song, for like the last couple of weeks, because I'm fascinated by the placement of the tone. Now, I'm not going to tell you where to place the tone, but what a lot of singers do is they try, essentially the vowel will often try and change the placement of the tone. And it's about finding that one placement and then placing those consonants and to change the vowel without moving the placement of the tone. This is something though that I'm talking about like very, very, very high level singing. We need to work on like vocal fold closure. We need to work on a little bit of twang. You can say more than any She's adding a little bit of the twang in there in order to help assist the closure of the vocal folds. We need to work on, getting in that anchoring. You can see the microphone technique. There's all these things that come above working on the placement of the tone, because we need to first start to learn how to feel our voices, which is exactly why inside the Vocal Academy, we actually go through step by step. We're going to teach you every single small technical detail that goes into songs like this, so that eventually you can put all of those things together and then you can focus on the placement. Because if you start running before you can walk, honestly, singing just feels really fucking confusing. Watch that thigh. More than any lows in love. She didn't change the placement of the sound. It's thick vocal folds. There's shitloads of thyroid tilt. She's moved back in order to support the sound more. I say support the sound more because, as we said before, when we hitting everything, when we're supporting the sound more, those arms wide are going to help to hold out the ribs, and this is what we need for that subglottic pressure. Even in this moment, the flesh and the fantasies. This is in an easy part of her range. We've got those thicker vocal folds, loads of thyroid tilt. It's staying in this mixed voice quality, but she's pulled back on the volume. We can't just stay at this really, really loud volume. This is one of the huge mistakes that I see people make in this song. And honestly, being able to just sing the it does not make those singers a particularly good singer. This makes you a good singer, being able to make all of those flexible changes, because this song's fucking hard. Did you hear that change in the timbre there? So she went, no! She was probably the one held belt note actually that we've had in this moment. She switched into that belt and then she released off the belt, and we heard way more vibrato come into the sound because she added in more thyroid tilt. I know you heard it that time. No! And she went into a lighter place, but probably not with the shit that I just did. But we had the belt come through. Belt is when we have the thyroid cartilage, which was here, remember, where the vocal folds live. The cricoid is the cartilage that sits underneath it. When it tilts back, it thickens the vocal folds, when it allows the vocal folds to thicken, become thicker than thick. And that's what causes the belt. We heard that distinct timbre change though. And all of a sudden it sort of sounds like a bit of a yell. Belting is not yelling, but it sounds like we're yelling on pitch, but it is not just yelling on pitch.
If you forgive me all this, if I forgive you all that, we forgive and forget, and it's all coming back to me. If I see you like this, and you see me like that, we see just what we want to see, all coming back to me. The flesh and the fan.
I just honestly, this woman just has such connection to the lyric. You just feel like you're there with her. You feel like she's having this conversation like with you almost. If you forgive me all this. She's there. She's in that moment. We've gone to a breathier, thin vocal fold. And we haven't gone to falsetto, I don't think, but I could be wrong. But we've got that thin vocal fold. Just the vocal folds are opening ever so slightly at the back. This is these finities. This is what makes a fantastic singer, is basically captivating us and to change the sounds, not just being this blanket. I know I've said that before, but she's just such a fabulous singer.
Coming back to me. inflation of fantasies all coming back to me. I can barely recall, but it's all coming back to me now. It's all coming back to me now. If I touch you like this, it's all coming back to me now. If you kiss me like that, it's all coming back to me now. If you do it like this, it's all coming back to me now. And if we
I love that. I love that. If you've, been watching any of my other videos, you know I'm obsessed with that little moment at the end of a performance where the singer suddenly becomes themselves. And they take that moment, they process that emotion that they've just gone through, and then they end up being themselves at the end. And it's so important that we also take that moment at the end of the performance, because these are big emotions. These are big emotions sitting in the air, and we don't want to take them throughout the day. And continue on in that feeling. So just taking that moment, feeling it, letting that feeling dissipate, and then becoming you. There's absolutely no rush at the beginning nor at the end of a performance to actually switch really, really quickly. Professional singers just get very good at changing in and out because of the practice that they've had. But in the beginning, it can feel like really heavy when we do these types of songs. So just being really conscious of that when you're singing these types of songs and you're really trying to feel like you're singing this to someone. We're never really going into that realm of where we're crying. You can see that she looks like she's in, that emotional state, but she's not going to the crying. She's not going over that threshold, because then we end up not being able to sing. And it's this knife's edge actually the entire time with our emotions, and it's very, very challenging. So we can learn so much from Celine Dion, but one thing I wouldn't take away from that performance, and we know that she does ballet, so I'm really surprised that her posture is so appalling in that song. It could also be the shirt that she's wearing in this thing. So she's got this very much sort of like hunched around shoulder. But as I said, we can learn so much from her, but please don't work with that type of posture. That's not going to serve you whatsoever. That actually is a muscle that goes from the back of the scapula or the shoulder blade all the way up to the hyoid bone inside here, which is above the larynx, and essentially depresses that hyoid bone if we are bringing our shoulders through. So, bringing our shoulders forward. So we're wanting to stand up tall. That's one of the reasons why we kind of bang on about it in singing. Wow. This is a very long video, but I don't care because I love Celine Dion and she's so amazing. I didn't get tickets for Paris and I'm absolutely gutted, but I'd love to hear from you in the comments. Did you get tickets for Paris? I can't wait to see some of those performances and see what she's doing now. She's just such a beautiful singer, and I grew up listening. I even had this album. I grew up listening to Celine Dion, and I always say that she's one of the women that taught me to sing, because I just think she's just so fabulous. If you've enjoyed this video, I would love it if you subscribe to the channel. It honestly really does help me, and then we can hang out and look at more Celine Dion together. So hit that subscribe button, and honestly, it would mean the world to me. Mwah, in advance. Check out some more Celine up here, and just remember, anyone can learn to sing. Everything that I've talked about in this video, though, is very, very difficult vocal technique. This needs to be broken down into bit by bit and looked at with your voice and looking what your sounds are and the repertoire you're working on. So if you would like to work on your vocal technique, then you can apply for my online singing school in the description below. I'll see you later. Happy singing. Ka kite anō.